Hey folks, wanted to put this other video together where I talk about Morales method and what sets it apart from all other methods. I know this is a question that comes up often, and some practitioners and teachers, also have this question themselves. So I wanted to address this and bring up what sets the Morales method apart from other methods. One thing I want to make clear is that the Morales method is branched out into three pieces. The Morales method pain specialist, the Morales method deep tech program, which is deep tissue techniques, and MASI, Morales Method Academy of Structural Integration. So what I'm going to address here is how all three of them as a unit, as part of Morales method, are different from other systems, other modalities. And I see the Morales method more as a full system that has three main branches rather than a modality, which to me seems to be like a collection of techniques. So without further ado, what sets the Morales method apart from other methods? I think you can break it down into three main components, each component having its own separate subcomponents, but I believe that there are three main components. And the first one is the philosophy. The Morales method has a definite open philosophy. The second component is that the Morales method is deeply rooted in the works of Ida Rolf. And the third one is, the third component is that we are highly influenced by our stages of motor development in babies, and that kind of permeates through a lot of our way of thinking, a lot of how we create a strategy. So let's take a look at that first component, the open philosophy component. And the way that we think of things is, we look at techniques that are effective, and anything that is effective, we bring it into our system. Anything that doesn't fit or doesn't serve us at that moment, we actually leave out of the system. And we place a high emphasis on being able to bring our own individuality to the work, not being set in dogma, accepting structure in the beginning as a way of learning the system, but then realizing that we are very open to breaking the structure. So I like to tell my students that we must learn the rules before we break the rules. So that's a big component of our philosophy. I like to tell folks that I want them to be able to learn to play jazz, but we need to learn the notes, we need to learn the structure before we move on. So this open philosophy is great because it creates a system that is permeable, that allows things to enter and allows also things to leave when they don't serve us. Another component that sets the Morales method apart from other systems is that it deeply rooted in the works of Ida Rolf, but also highly influenced by the philosophy of Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee was a big influence in my early life, and I realized that not only was it a big influence from the martial arts perspective, but it was also a big influence from the philosophy perspective. Of course, Ida Rolf gave us structural integration, and Bruce Lee gave us his system of martial arts, Jeet Kune Do. And I believe that they both have a lot in common, that they both were very curious to learn and to create a system that worked. And because of that, they were able to integrate different systems and add in their own personal discoveries to create their own system. Bruce Lee would call his style, Jeet Kune Do, a style of no style, or a method of no method. And I love that term, a method of no method. I believe that Morales method is very similar to that. It is a method of no method. Another thing that Ida Rolf has influenced the Morales method in is that we place a high emphasis on palpation. That really helps the practitioner to hone their palpation skill, which I believe is highly important. This is, after all, very much a manual therapy, so we need to be very proficient in our manual therapy palpation skills. Another piece that sets us apart is how we are influenced by the stages of motor development in babies. The way we develop and learn to move as babies is we move in certain directions and certain planes, and we create certain planes of movement when we start to move, and we start to develop from sitting up to crawling to standing to running. So all of these stages create certain themes of movement. It's almost like this is how our software of movement develops, and we use that information to be able to analyze gait, and then to be able to assess with our hands, and then be able to work. So the stages of motor development really highly influence not only our seeing, but our assessment and our manual therapy, how we work with our hands. The stages of motor development and what I call the order of complexity also dictates how we palpate and how we manually work the client's tissue. And finally, the stages of motor development can be seen as a development of the nervous system, our software. And we understand that our manual therapy and our movement therapy, the work that we do either manually or in movement, can be influencing the software, the nervous system, not just the physical tissue. So, that's another big difference. We understand that we aren't just physically affecting tissue, and we understand that we're not lengthening fascia or manipulating physical tissue, but the work that we do has a direct influence on our client's nervous system, and that we may be actually affecting that software, the nervous system of the client. That opens up our work to a myriad of other possibilities, and opens up our work because of our open philosophy. It opens up our work to bringing in so many other modalities, so many other ways of thinking. So, all of these ways, all of these components of our difference come together and blend to create a system that I believe has a lot of power, but it has a lot of power in the sense that the practitioner then becomes very open to learning and very, very open to expanding their horizons. So those are all sort of the ways that we are different, that we differentiate from other systems, other modalities. The techniques that we use, may look similar to a client. They may look the same to a client, but the techniques are just the tip of the iceberg behind all the other things that happen in the practitioner's mind, and how they decide to create how they decide to create a strategy with their client. So that's it, folks. I hope this helped. I hope this helped to clear up some of the differences between the Morales method and other methods. Like I said, techniques may look similar, but there's so much behind the scenes, and the purpose of this was to share with you all of the things that happen behind the scenes in the practitioner's mind as they work with a client. So thanks again for watching, and take care.